OB46 or Open Beta 46 is up on the public test server on the PC version, and we can now play Lex, the dual-wielding Hand of Justice, and the newest champion of the realm. However, today I'm going to go over all of the buffs and nerfs and all the changes that come with this patch. And about half an hour to an hour after this video is up, I'll be doing a live stream of Lex and the PTS on this OB46 version and just having fun with them, so be sure to tune into that, and also maybe download the PTS if you have fast internet before then, and we'll do some custom games with subscribers. Anyway, let's get on with all the patch changes. Before we jump into the nitty gritty of the nerfs and buffs, if you didn't know, the currency system in the game changed in the way you buy cards. So now there's a new currency called Essence, and I haven't exactly been a big supporter of it. Actually, completely the opposite. And some of the things that I said really needed to change is there needed to be some way to regularly get the Essence, because originally you only got it randomly by getting duplicate cards. But now, they've added a new feature where you can disenchant the cards you already have. And this is especially helpful for a newer player that's got loads of random cards that they don't really want to play, they don't play the champions, and they want to put a single champion deck together. They can disenchant all the cards on the champions they don't play, and use the essence to buy the cards that they actually want. The essence is heavily reduced when you disenchant the item, and I still think all the changes they're making to this system are putting band-aids on a problem that never needed to exist. But this is a step in the right direction. So let's get on to the champion nerfs and buffs. So first off, Androxus has got a buff. He's got base movement speed going from 365 to 380. I didn't really expect any buffs on Androxus, but this one, does it change an awful lot? Because most of the time you're nether stepping on Androxus, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I can't really comment on this one. I'm not 100% sure why it was put in, but I don't think it's going to change the game all that much. Now, Barik has had quite a heavy hit on his blunderbuss, his main attack, and that has been decreased from 600 damage maximum to 500. And that 100 has been moved over to Tinkering, the legendary card, and that increases blunderbuss damage by 100. What this means is that it could shift people to want to pick up the Tinkering more, because that sort of decreases the spread of the pellets and increases damage of the weapon as well. But generally, Barik has been in the meta this patch, so whether he'll be knocked out or not, we'll have to see. Probably not, but that is quite a heavy hit. Cathy has seen a minor buff, and she's got a dodge roll cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds, which might be to meet the fact that she's sort of fallen out the meta in the game at the moment. She hasn't been picked as much, and also that Lex, the new champion, can sort of do a Cathy roll so often, every 3 seconds, so maybe it's meeting what Lex is like a bit, and maybe buffing Cathy at the same time. So that's a nice little touch, but will it bring her back into the meta? We'll just have to see. Drogo has had 2 nerfs. First off, his health has been reduced from 2,500 to 2,400. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that 100 could mean the difference between, say, 3 shots or 4 shots with some of the champions. Also, his ult charge rate has been reduced by 10%. And now Drogo kind of was the ulti master in the recent patches, and this could be quite a big hit to him to have that decrease of 10% on his ulti charge. And will make that first pickup of morale boost that little more important. Something else I didn't talk about because it was a bug, but Combustible, the legendary, acted as a second hit, and with a combustible card which reduced the cooldown of Fire Spit, it meant that you basically just had Fire Spit instantly off cooldown a lot. Fernando has seen some minor-ish buffs. So the first one is Immortal, and they've reduced the activation time from 0.3 seconds to 0.1 seconds, so it'll be an almost instant cast. This means that it'll be easier to dodge something like a Drogo's ultimate if you hear it, and even if you're a bit slow at reacting to it, you'll probably be able to pull it off. And also, I think some incoming attacks you'll be able to block now, because before you might have died before you could actually even activate it. The second one is his legendary card, Formidable, and basically they've increased the health threshold from 30% of health to 40% of health, and basically what happens at that point is you start healing up when you go into that health threshold. So if you lose 60% of your health, then you'll start to heal. And the healing value has been increased from 40 to 60%. Now, whether this is actually a big deal, especially if you did have a healer before healing you up, this is just a bonus, and in the game, the enemy team are probably going to get cauterized over time. The thing with Fernando, though, is you can put up the shield, you can go out of combat because you'll take the damage to the shield, and it won't actually do any activation damage to you, knocking you out of combat. So it could be a quick regen to full health. Next on the nerfing line is Grok, the resident goblin, and his lightning staff has seen a reduction of damage from 82 per hit to 75, and for saying that's every 0.1 second, that's quite a big damage nerf. That's 70 damage reduction every second, but basically in the moment he was being picked up as a damage dealer, and this does block a lot of the potential for Grok as a damage dealer, but it still gives him the utility in his right click and that sort of damage if he picks up that Maelstrom card. But maybe Grok did need to see a little bit of a touch this patch. We'll just have to see how he fits in, but hopefully it won't kill him off, because it was fun to play some Grok the past few patches. Funnily enough, I did a video a few days ago about Inara and some of her problems, and they have buffed some of her abilities. First of all, her base health has been increased from 4,400 to 4,500, just a little nudge. Earthen Guard, the right click, has had its cooldown reduced from 12 to 10 seconds, which can also be reduced with cards. And Seismic Crash, the ultimate, has had a damage increase from 200 to 500 on that ultimate, which I'd said in the video as well probably needed to be added in because it was just not useful enough in most games currently. Personally, I still would have taken some sort of deployability of the Warder's Field on the ground further away from you, but these little nudges could bring Inara more into the meta and make her more viable in casual games and as sort of a solo tank if nobody else picks up a tank. But that is a step in the right direction for me. Makoto, who has been sort of top of the meta as a tank for a very long time now, has seen quite a big nerf, and this is that his Ancient Rage no longer grants crowd control immunity. And this means that, say, a Torvald can knock you off the edge of the map whilst you're Ancient Raging, you can be stunned, and just generally any status effects or slows will now affect you. And that is a big deal, because that gives you as a team a lot more options to basically pin down and blast down that Makoto doing the Ancient Rage. Because before, you could take him down, you could pin all your fire on him and take him out, especially if he was on his own, and that would be the end of the Makoto Ancient Rage. But now that's going to be easier if you have champions on your team that can stun. You've got a Maldamba throwing out his stun, you've got a Grumpy Bomb, and you've got just general slows and things. You can focus down that Makoto and say, hey, I'll challenge you, Makoto. You'll accept that challenge. It also gives a few more counters to Makoto in that sort of ultimate stage. So I guess it just makes the other frontliners a little bit more competitive. Maldamba, the healer, has also seen a buff, but not exactly in his skill ceiling, but in his skill floor, it's lowered a little bit, because what it does is it makes his Mending Spirits have a proximity activation of 1.5, which was 1 before. Basically, what it means, it gives a bigger area where the Mending Spirit will go off when you're looking at an ally, and say you're at the edge of their hitbox. Well, that'll increase the activation size, so it will go into the hitbox even though it's outside of it. And seeing as Maldamba is the lowest win rate healer, even though he wins a lot of games at higher level, it might give him that edge in the lower level games. But saying that, even people like Bird use the card where if you miss your right click, then you get a lower cooldown. So we might even see it in competitive level that Maldamba is even more of the wicked healer, and maybe you can take that card out and put something else in to replace that card. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically if you right click and miss, you get almost an instant cooldown. Next up on the chopping block, and with a nerf, is Pip. So first off, the card Side Tank, which reduces a cooldown of your alternate fire, the Explosive Flask, has had a reduction to the cooldown reduction from 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds to 0.5, 1, 1.5 and 2 seconds. Now this is quite a big nerf for the aggressive Pip builds, and just mean you can't spam your Explosive Flask as much, and that's your slow. That's sort of what gives you the bonus damage on some of the other cards, on one of the legendary cards as well. This is quite a significant nerf to flank Pip. Sorry to all the Pip mains out there. Finally, I'm just scratching my head a bit again, that Torvald is getting a nerf to protection. The cooldown is being increased from 7 seconds to 9 seconds. Now, protection is the little bubble shield Torvald can put on allies. And this is probably the biggest utility the champion has, basically stopping flankers from bursting down their allies. And actually does work well against Lex when they're trying to burst somebody down. You put the shield on somebody, then the other person might actually win the duel. But Torvald's already had a nerf to his shield, and I just think because Torvald's the highest win rate champion at the moment, that they may be looking that, oh yeah, he's winning lots of games. But the problem was that people weren't picking up Wrecker, which is his direct counter, and that even cancels out those bubble shields, meaning that it's only really one shot to get past on a lot of the damage champions and flank champions. So I am a bit puzzled why there's another nerf on Torvald. But what this could do is make the frontliners go a little bit more out of the meta. So we've got the Makoto nerf and we've got the Torvald nerf, and they were two of the strongest frontliners at the moment in the game, and we got the Barrack nerf, so it could mean that the double tank lineups aren't as effective in the game, although that's quite a bit of big speculation, and we might see Fernando pop back into the meta. So those were all the nerfs and buffs. I think quite a few of these will turn the meta on its head, and who the champions that are favourites are going to be in this patch. Next up though, let's talk about the skins. So Fernando's got the FN01 Helios, and it basically is just like a Gundam suit. I've got to admit actually, I went and watched the Gundam Origins anime because I saw this skin and thought, I've really been meaning to get into the Gundam series and try it out, and I would recommend to anybody to try out the Gundam Origins stories. They're like 4 mini movies, like they're an hour long each, but they're epic. I'd 100% recommend it to people. Yeah, I guess the skin looks cool. Let's talk about Paladins again. The weird thing about the skin is they put it into a new crate with 3 of the skins. Now the 2 of the skins, the Cathy Nightbane and the Starslayer Ruckus, are cool skins that I would as a player want because I do already have them. I've already purchased them both. And the Triggerman book is okay, the other one in it. But why put these together? Oh, it's just such a kick in the nuts in this chest to force players to get this chest and go for the RNG and roll randomly for it. And the kick in the nuts is more than anything that these are old skins. Like if there were like different pieces of the Helios skin, that would make sense. Like the Army Man Victor we had before, like there were loads of different pieces of Army Man Victor, and the Ying Genie. This is just making the RNG there for the sake of RNG, adding old skins in. And there was actually a PC Gamer giveaway of the Nightbane skins very recently. I think they've all gone now. So that also is a bit more of a kick in the nuts. Finally, they've added some new maps. And first up, they've got a new co-op mode called Minefield. A rogue band of 5 Kinesses have overlooked their oppressor mines to deal lethal amounts of damage. Tread lightly across Primal Court as there are mines behind every corner. So are these exploding mines around the map? We'll just have to see. I'll probably try this one out. I don't know whether I'll do a guide on it or not. Next as well, there are 3 test queue rotation maps: Sunken City, Moss Garden, and Salt. Anyway, that's pretty much OB46 and my thoughts on some of the changes coming through, and just an overview of all the buffs and nerfs. What does everyone else think about OB46 coming out? What do people think about Lawman? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you didn't, then you can always dislike it if you really have to. And subscribe for more of my content. I'll see you all next time. Joshino.